I took the ultimate challenge and tried to create a boss in UEFN/Fortnite Creative. And it actually turned out quite well. I actually created a few of them, one of them being a T-Rex that chases you around. Then also we have the dog, which has some pointy laser fingers. But the biggest challenge I had to overcome was learning verse. So today I want to share my progress with you guys. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Alright, so the first thing that I tried out was the spinning around Columbo. And that was actually fairly easy because Epic actually does give you a tutorial. If you just look into their forums, they do have one. However, this one is quite different from all the rest that I created because this one uses a teleport function, which basically means it teleports it in a circle instead of just smoothly rotating it. It is obviously still working. I will leave you guys the code in the description if you want to use it. But this is basically how you can create a prop that looks at you all the time. And I think for something like the Storm King, for example, this would be super helpful. One thing which is super important if you copy the code for just the spinning from the Epic Games website, that you actually add the spatial math and the characters modules over here. I quickly want to show you guys how you can create your own verse devices because this is kind of important and that may be not so obvious. But I will not explain the code. You can just copy it if you just want to try to use it. I will explain it later a little bit. But for this one, we're just gonna you can copy it if you want to use it, and otherwise you don't have to. So what you want to do to create a verse device is basically click on this little verse button over here, and you get greeted with like this little window here, and you're gonna click on the verse explorer. In here you can basically click on the tutorial or the content browser here and then create a new verse file. This will then greet you with this new window, and basically you can leave the name as it is or you can change it to whatever you want. It doesn't matter, and then you can click create. If you double click on it, you will be greeted with the standard hello world one, and you can basically delete everything besides the first three ones here, and these are super important. And you actually have to add two more if you want to use the just rotating prop one, because as you can see here, we have two more which are not added. For example, if we delete these here, you can see that a bunch of the stuff is getting like squirrely lined, which means that we cannot use it. And if you put in the code and you save the code, you can go up here again and then press verse build code. If you press that, you will be getting your own verse device, which will be shown in the creative devices tab here. So not in the official one, not from the Epic ones, but in this one over here. And you can see I have a bunch of these devices here, and all you have to do is just put them out. All right, so now we come to the laser finger dock. And this one is basically the first step in creating the dinosaur. It basically works from here on the same way. I would actually leave you guys a different tutorial in the comments down below, which is also on the following kind of NPC prop, but more of an like a pet or something that just follows you around without like attacking you or like getting actually started from the game. It's a pretty good tutorial, and I actually learned a lot from the rotation part from this YouTuber, so I highly recommend checking it out. It's definitely a different code and a little bit more advanced than this one. And this right here is the code. I'll obviously leave it in the description so you can just copy it if you want to. But what this code will basically do is, first of all, on here, you can see that it will allow us with the meteor zone to activate the device. And then basically does all the rotation and the following in the code here. So you can see it's still very simple, but the most important part is that we are using the move to here instead of the teleport to, which does give us a smooth rotation and which makes it look so smooth when obviously following us. It doesn't like flip like the Columbo does. And in here we have two options which we actually have in our device, and that is our boss prop, which we have to select, and we have our mutator zone, which we named zone device. So in here you can basically go and select whatever prop you have. It needs to be a Fortnite prop, obviously, so we can use it as a Fortnite prop. That is the only thing. It cannot be a static mesh, but it can be basically any prop that you want. And then obviously for the zone device is a mutator zone. So this can only be a mutator zone, so we can pick this, but we cannot, for example, pick the damage zone. So for those of you who understand verse a little bit already, you can change the mutator zone here. So if you want to change this into a trigger device or anything that can basically activate your boss fight, I don't know, trigger device, so you change all of these, and then also make sure that you change all the other stuff. For example, the trigger device does not have the agent enter event, so you cannot use that in there. So once you've copied everything and put out the device here, you can just use your blueprint, which whatever you created. I already had a video on how you can create custom blueprints. We're going to use the dock here, and basically what we do is we click on this, use the boss prop, click on this little like picker tool, and then we have the dock connected. We also need a mutator zone to start the whole thing, so we're just going to look for a mutator zone in Fortnite. And then we can go here and pick this mutator zone. And from here on, you can push the changes and just go into your mutator zone. And you will see that the dog starts following us. and he doesn't look too happy. It's also very important to say that this is basically just mirroring our movement. This is not like a nav mesh where it basically just gets the terrain. So it basically just walks through every wall, and if I jump, it basically jumps with me. But currently this is the only way on how we can create something like this. So now we have a dog that follows us, but it basically doesn't do anything yet. We have to attach a few things to make sure that it actually kills us or that we can shoot it. And basically your creativity is completely free here. For example, if you want to make sure that you can shoot the dog, all you have to do is add a prop manipulator. This is the item which allows you to give the prop a custom health. So for example, you go in here, modify health, go that, and then type 200. And now if we go back into the game, we can technically already shoot him. You can see we can already give him a little bit of health. But if we go in here, obviously the dog starts following us, and we can actually now shoot him, and then he will be deleted. The prop mover is very special because you actually do not have to physically attach it to the prop, because it basically does that on its own. But if, let's for example, you want to have a damage zone around the dog, so if he gets too close to us, he kills us, then all you have to do is look for a damage volume. And now we have to make sure that we actually attach the damage volume to the prop dog, so it can actually move with the dog, so it basically just mimics the movement. Apparently the dog is new blueprint 3, so I should probably name them a little bit more carefully. Click on it, attach to, and now we look for the blueprint number 3 here, and now it is attached. Now you can see if we move the dog, the damage volume will move with it. We can technically do the same thing here just for a good measurement with the prop manipulator as well. So we have everything nice and tidy in one place, and now everything will move with the dog. You can see the dog follows us, but if we get too close to the dog, we're gonna take damage, obviously very slowly because we didn't change anything. But in a few seconds, the dog will have killed us. Obviously, we can move out of it, so the dog doesn't kill us anymore. And if we get too close again, we take damage. And from there on, you can basically be as creative as you want. So for example, as you can see here, this is the one that I prepared. This is the dog image. We have a damage zone here, which I just made very small. And we have a VFX device. So basically, just attach all of them to it, make sure that it looks nice, and you can create your own really cool boss fights with this one. For the T-Rex, it's obviously a little bit different because the T-Rex is obviously an animation and it's a skeleton mesh. You can see that first of all, you have to add a static skeleton mesh here. I already had a video on that, so I will link definitely everything down in the description. So add a skeleton mesh, then you're gonna add whatever animation you have here, you're gonna animate. So for example, we have multiple animations here. And then from here on, it basically works the same. Just make sure that it looks nice. Obviously, it comes down to the animation. You attach things to it which you want to have. For example, I did attach a mutator zone, which basically, if the player gets too close to the T-Rex, then a T-Rex will spawn another T-Rex, which basically, if you have multiple ones at the same time, you have to obviously make one invisible, and then it basically just switches out the animations. So it plays the animation from the other prop, and then as soon as you leave the zone, it goes back to the normal walking speed. Or normal walking animation. And hopefully in the future we get a lot more functions to make this work even better. But for now, this is like kind of like the workaround way that we always do in creative.